Flimsy Windows Creative. Julian Phillips with Tom Luong. October 3, 2018. The Cobalt Migration. Chapter 15. All rights reserved. So please tell me everything you know about the Green Cheese Games, said Charles Lincoln Corso, the Jack Giant space program pilot, in the driver's seat for a supply mission to Earth's moon. He was tallying with Lisa, or Lynn, Kincaid, a property in charge of one of the supply containers his space vessel, the Urania 2, had carried FRM Earth. The two of them had found some sort of refuge on the 4th level underground, within the Earth's star moon base, there on the Earth's moon, Luna. There were 4 bases by that time, and space cargo ships from Earth were needed to regularly supply almost all essential needs. The Earth Star Base was the largest and most successful. 2 of the bases, the Station X Base and Alpha Station Base, were off-limits or secret, so only authorized workers went there, and it was all very mysterious. All of the bases had top pieces engineered to move to the surface and then inward, to the air-sealed, completely self-contained environment. The entire facility was about a quarter-mile wide across, or by diameter of a circle, and then extended downward another quarter-mile, with many levels and useful work areas, hospitality, and residences. Otherwise, the moon was as inhospitable as ever, a dead stone, airless in the void, gazing back at the Earth like an eternal embrace that only lovers could recall in fantasy. Corso, please, Lynn said. I don't know much about the Green Cheese Games at all. Why should I? Not my area. Not my job. The idea is a plan to hold the world's first Olympics here on Luna. The big deal is to hold the traditional Olympics in 1/3 gravity. But it all has to be underground in the air-sealed caves, I mean, inside one of the underground bases, like this one. So for now it's only an idea or plan, and there has been some work on it. Corso can work on a datapad he carried with him, connecting him directly to the Urania 2, the supply ship he had piloted to Luna, with co-pilot Colonel Koita, Navigator Ron Davidson, and his other team. Neither he nor Lynn Kincaid had any idea that the Pentagon's U.S. Space Force commander, General James Anderson, and the pilot they all called Major Tom, were also there at the moon, in orbit at a small station. Round and round and round they would spin in orbit, well beyond the reach of Charles Chat WTH Lynn. Or were they? The Green Cheese Games sound like a fantastic idea, he replied. Just making conversation, you know. Shop talk. I'm surprised you would even ask me, she said. Here on Luna, everyone knows everything happening within minutes, or planned for the future within hours. It's a survival thing. Well, not me, I guess, Corso said. The datapad he used constantly reviewed information from the Urania 2. The ship was of course serviced, and docked, and unloaded, with the containers shuttled to the moon's surface precisely as needed to finally enter the Earth Star Base underground, in total safety, especially for oxygen air atmosphere leak and gateway seals. Even one serious airlock breach and men could die quite suddenly. Such as space travel. As he sat listening to Lin, he could see the Jack Giant team was working through the excruciating and painstaking checklist for ship safety, which could take days. Meanwhile, he was assigned on a rotating shift to rest and relax, and for Lin was at the very least a recreation of the most perfect type, for him, that being a healthy, beautiful woman. Then why not, pilot? Don't you have an answer for everything? Just talking is all? I find it fascinating. After all, the Olympics had been cancelled for at least 12 years during the disease. What was it? You know, the famine that hit? Cleese disease. That was it. Cleese disease. 15 years of bad crops and no food worth eating. So yeah, no Olympics during that time, and now here we are figuring it out for the very first games on the moon. What a trip. Have you ever done the fitness training on Alpha Station? In 1/3 gravity? Lin lifted her gaze shyly. And she was a good looker. Not all of the pilots and space workers were necessarily perfect specimens of athletic health and vigor. But it helped. A lot of the science guys, the researchers, the politicians and poets or musicians who visited at the moon, were out of shape, if not obese or in some cases disabled, in wheelchairs. Yeah, she said. No Olympics. 15 years. World famine. And now here we are solving all of that. But to answer your question, yes, I have done the fitness room at Alpha Station Base. But no one goes on Alpha Station unless they arrive directly from the Space Marines out of the Puerto Rico lift. And I mean only the Space Marines. God only knows what they're working on over there. They sat together for a break in one of the cafeteria-style common areas, on the 4th level. There were no windows, obviously, and they were at least 400 feet beneath the surface of the moon. But most of the inner rooms at the Earth Star base had 24/7 surface monitors at the base entrance, and at various points of interest around the base. So they could watch the workers loading the containers, and watch some of the base alerts, or queue up some of the heavy research at the space telescopes, and other wonders. Property? Why do they call her a property? Lin is a property manager, not a property herself, owned by some other person, which is illegal. And Charles was still curious. What was the secret cargo his ship had carried, under her authority? This detail at least, and the fate of that particular cargo container, was some kind of excuse for their dating or getting together. As if one was needed, which there at the moon base, made a certain kind of sense, for both men and women and all kinds of romance that took place. On the other hand, Charles Lincoln told himself, if Villa Kincaid, or Lisa Hayes, was someone else's property, maybe better stay away. He caught her smile, at a table there. They both had packaged food and drink, and in the low gravity the tables had boys shaped like bananas that did balancing tricks on the table. In the low gravity, how could they determine the winners? For the Olympics, I mean. What about the long jump? Or weightlifting, she said. Or, you know, tennis. Well, that's what they like, for sure. Novelty. Leaping around in 1:3 gravity ratio compared to Earth, international media event sponsored by Telsa Motors. So they would need brand new rules to judge the winners. How easy could it might be done? Tesla? Corso chuckled. They've been gone for 30 years. How about Monsanto? They could do it. Or Boeing. What if they had two games? Like Olympics on the moon with the same events on Earth, at the same time? Like peace games? Why not? Then they could compare how the event was at regular gravity to stats on the same event in 1/3 gravity. Dream on, Sister Moonbeam, he said dryly. And that was that. World peace was never a done deal for any of them, and that was that. Peace on Earth. Peace on the moon. What's the difference? About 130 pounds for the average weight man or woman. Hey, lighten up, take it easy. Well, anyway, it's from a children's story, Lisa said. The moon is made of green cheese, and the dish ran away with a spoon, and the cow jumped over the moon. Otherwise not much but a fantasy. And a good one, too. Someone should do a movie. He nodded. Yeah, I guess. Or a book. As a property, Lisa Hayes, or Lynn Kincaid, held a unique role within the mostly unannounced affairs of special services. And what were those services? Essentially, under the terms of Horus Jack Giant Killer Operation, she and others were relays to people like Thor Valiant, the real or imaginary off-world alien they all feared. And there was not a direct connection. They never met, they never spoke, there was no communication. Special services kept track of their stuff, their gear, their shipments, their property, and stuff like the secret cargo container the Arabia 2 carried. By Raelian law, believe it or not, thou valiant Thor could have no dealings whatsoever on Earth, or with any person, unless he first acquired that person as his property. So that is why Lynn was called a property. It was for her own protection. In real life no one in their right mind wanted to deal with the Raelians anyway, unless to shoot them dead on sight. Lynn Kincaid was in charge of some of Thor's property, and that was about all. In this case, a container packaged with half a ton of DNA from Earth farm animals, such as horses, supposedly on its way to another galaxy. But of course that was a secret. By law she could not share that information even with Corso, who she genuinely liked as a man and a person, and a pilot. But he probably knew all that anyway, or so suspected. Typical of space worker culture.